And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, Episode 8. Today we have a very special and unique Aerostar, as always, and it is a 1989 Ford Aerostar listed in Chesaning, Michigan for $5,500. So a little on the steep side, and we'll get into that in a bit. A lot of great Aerostars in Michigan and a lot of great Aerostars in Ohio. I find those two states, maybe it's just like sort of the heartland, but you see a lot of Aerostars in that region of the country. So very grateful for that. Well, as you can see, this is quite the aesthetic masterpiece, so we'll start with that. I love the sort of beige color with these mustard side stripes and even, like, you know, racing stripes, you might call them, on the front, as you can clearly see here. We'll get into the description very quickly. Saginaw County area, FCFS, first come, first serve. I just figured that out. I was going to say I didn't know what that meant. No lowballing, got lots of compliments on it. Well, I can be the first person to tell you that just because you get compliments on your car or vehicle, that does not necessarily mean that people will pay what you want for it. I got some guy offered me $1,500 for my Buick the other day, and you know, that's perfectly fine for him to offer, but I told him I had at least $4,000 into it. Now again, not saying it's worth that much, but I do see a little discrepancy between that correlation of the compliments vis-a-vis the value of the car. But you know, I like that they're aspirational. I like that they're going for top dollar, and I like that they view their Aerostar as a very, very valuable thing. That is a good thing. So very positive on that in that regard. First thing I'll say, okay, so 1989 Ford Aerostar Hippie van. And as we cycle through some of these pictures, you'll see that it does have, you know, the big peace symbol on it. It's got, you know, your bumper stickers everywhere, which I guess categorizes it as a hippie van. This is, you know, quite a nice treatment. They seem to really want to let you know that it's full of stickers. That's a big selling point. Made in the 80s, Apple logo, emo logo. Back in the day, it was the way. Historic US 27, Cops and Donuts, Clare, Michigan. We do see that this is, you know, the pre-facelift interior had this wonderful, wonderful Aerostar badging on the sort of glove compartment area. Really like that. I think that went away on after the facelift, and that's just a great thing from the 80s. Now here we have a video, and this is a new feature on Facebook Marketplace that I haven't seen. Perhaps this is one of the few ways in which Marketplace is sort of preferential in listing a vehicle to Craigslist. Unfortunately, I don't know if the video will replay. You got some, again, sort of quote-unquote hippie accoutrement in here. You can see it has the beautiful red pinstriping on these two-tone seats that I've talked about before. I love the Aerostar seats, and I love that they committed it all the way to the third and second row bench seats, which is funny because I wonder if this was the original paint color. The red pinstriping certainly seems like to be a little at odds with the white and mustard exterior and the almost blue-gray interior. Very interesting color spec. Now, I shouldn't say it's at odds. I actually like the kind of quote-unquote McDonald's color combination, the red and yellow. I think they go perfectly fine together. As we'll look at this video one more time. We see it does have the digital gauges, which is very, very nice. And I'm going to go swipe around here and show you now. Back to the description. Some rust, it says. A 1989 Ford Aerostar Hippie van, some rust. Now, I'd say that is a considerable amount of rust. And just sort of falling apart here. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the frame is bad, but that is certainly a considerable amount of rust. It certainly is in need of a little bit of TLC. As you can see, very janky Aerostar, which I very much appreciate. You have these wonderful steel alloy wheels, and these are like what I'm calling the slicer wheels because they kind of resemble the 80s Corvette C4 wheels to me. You have one white wall tire and one non-white wall. So that was sort of changed at one point in time. Now looking at it closer, I almost see that the top is more white than the bottom. You almost have a three-tone or a tri-tone rather than a two-tone Aerostar here. You have like your beige, and then you have your mustard, and then you have your white on top. So quite a nice color combination, if I do say so myself. 115,000 original miles, so that's what it has going for. It does have fairly low miles. 115 is pretty low in the grand scheme of things, especially for you know, almost 99, 2009, yeah, over 30-year-old vehicle. The headliner fabric up front needs some TLC, runs and drives great. These are the needs that it has. Air and back tire and gas pedal pin slipped out. I have the pin, easy fix. Classic classifieds thing. If it's so darn easy, why don't you just fix it and then justify the price that you're asking for? But I get it. Some people, when they're selling it, they're just done with it. You know, take it off my hands. Also, you could just put a little air in the back tire. It won't be that hard. Go get yourself a compressor or limp it to the gas station, put a little air in the back tire. It does look quite low now that I'm looking at it, but I appreciate the transparency. Believe it or not, this was really good on gas. Well, it would stand to reason if it was really good on gas, it still is really good on gas. So maybe they're speaking in the past tense because they're not driving it anymore. I get that, but sort of just funny language, always funny language in these posts. Now, of course, this is, you know, exclamation point, was really good on gas. I think, especially for your longer versions, just because you got a little extra weight in there, and it doesn't look like it's the four-wheel drive, so rear-wheel drive, you're probably getting 22, 23, which is not bad, especially for a large vehicle like this. So, but I don't know, really good might be a little bit of a stretch there. Third row seating, exclamation point. Radio, heat, air, lights, etc. all function last time I drove out. Last time I drove out. You're getting a lot of playing with the tenses here, present tense, past tense. Again, last time I drove, everything worked. I get it. It's kind of like, you know, things can fail at any moment on an older car. So you're just sort of, you know, you're being transparent, but also not super confidence inspiring. When was the last time that you drove out, I would ask. So radio, but you know, if your air and your heat still work, AC and heat, having that in a 30-year-old plus vehicle, that's all very very nice. Would make an awesome summer fun van if someone wanted to paint it a different color, etc. I personally, and I see this a lot of these videos, they're saying like, oh, it's ugly, but it's you know, it's gonna get you from A to B. It's like, and I always sort of take issue with that, because I think this Aerostar is beautiful. This is one of the nicest, coolest looking paint configurations I've ever seen on an Aerostar. So I would say don't paint it, maybe just fix up your rust. And you know, there's a lot that can be said for just those three letters, ETC, etc. I wouldn't paint this at all. I think what it needs is probably, you know, some rust repair, and you know, the interior may be gussied up a little bit, and a wash definitely. But it's always funny that you know, would make an awesome summer van if only you would just paint it. You know, disregarding all the mechanical things that it needs. You know, put air in the tires and all that sort of thing. So very just a very funny post. I thought this is a very excellent post. A lot of good material in terms of like the description and just, you know, trying to see where people are coming from, get a general sense of their demeanor and attitude and stuff like that. But certainly it is a wonderful, wonderful van. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, they're listing it as an 89, and who am I to say otherwise? However, there's a couple of clues, and this is like sort of like a little Aerostar sleuthing, to which I think this is actually a 1988 van, or perhaps 87, but I think this is an 88. The first thing we're going to see is this is your 5-spoke original grille. Now, this was made for 3 years, from 86, 87, and 88. 89, 90, and 91, they had the 3-spoke grille, still with the center-mounted Ford logo, and then from 92 on, they had the 3-spoke grille with the Ford symbol relocated to the top. So it is possible that maybe at some point the grille was, you know, changed out, minor fender bender or something like that, or just for aesthetic purposes, and they put like, you know, sort of the pre-facelift grille on here. But the other thing that's cluing me in is if we look at the interior on this video again real quickly, we'll see that it does have the digital gauges, which are wonderful. I love the digital gauges. I'm not sure how reliable they are, but every time I've seen one, they seem to be in working condition. Now, our good friend Ronnie, who 1989 Aerostar, who of course has his 1989 Aerostar, I believe he said that he has the analog gauges in his. So if this is indeed, now perhaps maybe half the 89s got digital gauges and half of them got the analog gauges. They were sort of switching over. But, and maybe they even switched over from the grills. Maybe this is a very early 1989 Aerostar. But I would be interested to see the VIN number and actually look it up, because I think this may be a 1988 Aerostar. Neither here nor there, but just a fun little, you know, sort of Aerostar sleuthing that we can do to try to see exactly what this vehicle is. Again, you have your white wall tire on the front, which is, you know, sort of starting to wear, and your non-white wall. So at least they're consistent front to back. You know, at least they changed 2 tires at a time and not 1 tire at a time. You can see your now this is a little worrisome. There's quite a bit of rust going on here and corrosion, where it's all, the metal's almost like sort of melting away. But again, only 115,000 miles, so mechanically it could be still quite sound and quite nice. I love this paint job, particularly on an extended Aerostar. I think that streak just gets highlighted the longer it goes back. It looks like your passenger door here is a bit ajar. Now maybe it's just not quite shut, but it does look pretty tight here. So that, you know, that's something to consider. And you know, over time these things can sag a little bit, and you can kind of right them. Put shims in there and sort of get them back up to snuff. Let's go ahead and look at the back again, which I thought was very interesting. Now, another great trope of you know, classifieds posting that I really like is the methodology in which someone covers up the license plate. If you know, some people, they'll do it in post-production, so they'll put a little graphic over it, sometimes kind of like a funny emoji. Some people will take like a rag or a cloth and tuck it neatly behind the license plate so it covers up. But I gotta say, this is kind of my favorite method, in which you actually put your finger in front of the camera to sort of block or censor out the license plate number. And I do appreciate that. I appreciate the privacy of it. I see multiple Apple stickers on here, which is funny, and without really sort of commenting or commentating on anything. I don't know if Apple necessarily reflects the values of hippies and Back to the Land, but I guess, you know, Steve Jobs was somewhat of a hippie or something like that. He certainly was into hallucinogenics, and that sort of is a tokenistic thing of hippies, so maybe that's like fair play. You got Patagonia, you got NASA, you got Orvis, all sorts of great bumper stickers going on, and your big turquoise aqua peace sign, which I think that color combination certainly goes great with everything, goes with the mustard. I love this mustard wraparound right here, and how it just kind of barely goes over the taillights on the front and the bottom, and there's a big contour line in the rear hatchback here, and that I think goes very, very well. Just a really stunning paint job. The paint job to me is by far the coolest thing about this Aerostar. Your rear and front bumpers all look very intact, all look in very great shape. It looks like they're probably original, because they have the same color matched on front to back. Again, as we take one more, and you got, of course, another bumper sticker right on the gas filler cap, well placed. It is funny that they sort of show off the bumper stickers and everything, because I don't know that I would necessarily see that as a positive if you did want to take those out. Now it looks like it might have a dashboard carpet. Does anyone remember the dashboard carpets? You see these on a lot of cars. They're supposed to protect the dashboard, and I think that's like I wonder if it does have that. Maybe we can go back and see the video one more time and see if we see it. Yeah, it looks like it has a full dashboard carpet, also in sort of like a greenish turquoise. So just a total plethora, rainbow of colors going on here, which I really appreciate. And those dashboard carpets were so funny to me, because they were quite functional, and you know, it's probably nice to rest your stuff on that little dashboard. So that's kind of another little treat in this Aerostar. Just love the way these lines sort of, you know, accentuate the body panels. You know, I've kind of hand brush painted a couple cars, and in my toilets that I paint, I like painting along the design accent lines instead of, like, you know, I like crossing over them too and doing all sorts of weird different designs, but I do like paint jobs, and really appreciate paint jobs which sort of highlight or follow the already present indentations or crease lines or anything like that. So the way that it sort of, you know, triangulates down here and meets right at the nose by your headlight bezel, and then particularly on the back hatch, I love the way this wraps around, just kind of highlights your license plate holder and all that. Now, as we see, it maybe perhaps covered in the etc. of things that you would need to do to make it a great summer van would be sort of reattach this wiper blade, which had sadly sagged all the way down, kind of pointing at your Ford logo there. So that's a bit unfortunate. Was very nice that it had a rear wiper blade back in 1989. But that's another thing that might be fixed. And I think just like, you know, to add up all these sort of things, certainly, you know, again, a little rust isn't bad, but that's, this is pretty, you know, pretty considerate amount of rust here, and it's kind of, your wheel arches are almost sort of melting away. So I gotta say, I think this, while an excellent van, and love that it's been preserved and made it this long, I think this asking price is, you know, maybe just a little bit high, and you know, the the no lowballing. Now they stopped short of saying I know what I have, but again, just you know, I would pay this car tons of compliments, and hopefully I have here, but I still would not offer the asking price of this vehicle. But you know, they're absolutely right when they say would make an awesome summer fun van. And I love how summer fun and van are all capitalized. It's like a new segment of vehicle, the SFV, the summer fun van. And what better SFV than a Ford Aerostar, of course. It does have a factory roof rack, it looks like, up there. So, you know, you could eat up miles in this thing. And again, 115,000 miles, very low, in the wonderful village of Chesaning, Michigan. So, there you have it. Just a beautiful, beautiful 1989, we're going to call it, Ford Aerostar. Just breathtaking, and another wonderful color combination. You know, the 80s in general, 80s and early 90s had a lot of great sort of factory 2-tone and 3-tone paint jobs that went on, and this one, I have to say, is maybe one of the best. The little black piping there on the sides just frames everything very nicely. You got a racing stripe, so it's a little sporty. Yeah, just a wonderful van. And you know, maybe you could cut them. They would cut you a little bit of a deal on this. Boy, oh boy, just a nice one. Just a nice one. Very funny post. So we're kind of getting everything in the year of Aerostar here. We're getting the beautiful Aerostar. We're getting a funny post, and we can sort of dive into it all and just appreciate the greatness of this vehicle. So there you have it. Another one of the books. Thanks for joining us again on Year of the Aerostar, and we'll see you soon. Until next time, Janky do Thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.